Hey up everyone, welcome back to the Rugby League History channel. The wooden spoon. It's something that nobody wants. It's something that will hang over your club for all eternity. In a lot of ways, I liken the wooden spoon to a criminal record. No matter what you do in the future, it'll always be on your file. In recent years, however, the craze of the spoon ball has entered the NRL to describe the match between the two bottom placed teams. This match can occur on the final day of the season or a couple of rounds before the end of the season. Sometimes it doesn't have to feature the two bottom sides at all, but today I will delve deeper into the history of the spoon ball and look at the previous spoon ball games, so stay tuned for the rest of the video. Probably the first instance of a spoon ball match, or where the media described the game as a spoon ball match, occurred in 2011, where Parramatta and the Gold Coast faced off in the final match of the regular season in 2011. This was a bit of a strange one because in 2010, the year previous, Gold Coast had made the preliminary final in their best ever season, and Parramatta just 2 years prior in 2009 made the grand final where they lost against Melbourne. The match will be played at Seabus Super Stadium on the Gold Coast, where Parramatta would defeat the men from the Glitter Strip 32 points to 12 to hand the Gold Coast their first ever wooden spoon in their current incarnation. And I remember watching this game at the time, and it was pretty much the Jared Haynes show in that final round of the season. He really turned it on and he saved Parramatta from the wooden spoon. However, as we all know, 2012-2013, Parramatta came dead last. The second edition of the spoon ball occurred in 2014 in round 24 of that year, where Canberra, who was second last, played against Cronulla, who were bottom of the table. This match happened at Shark Park, and in this game Canberra were in a realistic chance of coming last for the first time since 1982, and Cronulla had possibly one of their worst seasons on and off the field with the Asada investigation. But in this game, Canberra would run out 22 points to 12 winners, which virtually assured that Cronulla would finish with the wooden spoon in 2014. The following year, in 2015, the spoon ball occurred once again. This time it was between Newcastle and Penrith. Penrith was second bottom from the table. Newcastle were bottom at that stage. Whoever lost this match would finish with the wooden spoon in 2015. Penrith won resoundingly at Pepper Stadium, as it was known then, at Penrith Stadium, and condemned Newcastle to their second wooden spoon. And I think that this game was kind of the catalyst to how these two teams diverted in fortunes. Penrith only went up from that moment in time, and Newcastle seemed to go only on a downward trajectory since that loss in 2015. The fourth edition of the spoon ball occurred in 2017. This one were a bit different to other matches, as this fixture happened in round 17 of the 2017 competition. However, West Tigers were second bottom for pretty much the entire year, and Newcastle were bottom for pretty much the entire year. These two sides played in round 17 at Marathon Stadium in Newcastle, where West Tigers won convincingly by 20 points, and it pretty much assured their safety from getting the wooden spoon in 2017, as there was no other team other than Newcastle or West Tigers that could get it. So West Tigers won the game and condemned Newcastle to their third consecutive wooden spoon. In 2018, we had two spoon ball matches in the NRL, which is quite rare. The first occurred in round 19 of that season, where Parramatta, who were bottom of the table, played against Canterbury Bankstown, who was second last. There were fears before this game started that there was going to be less than 10,000 people at the ground, and it was going to be one of the lowest attended matches in modern times in the competition's history, and it turned out to be the case. Only 8,000 people attended the match at Stadium Australia. Parramatta would win 14 points to 8, and they would leapfrog Canterbury Bankstown into second last place, and Canterbury Bankstown would be bottom of the table for the time being. Later on that year, we had the second edition of the spoon ball in 2018. This time it was against Parramatta and North Queensland, with the match being played in Townsville. North Queensland was second last on the table and Parramatta were bottom. There was only one match after this to go. Whoever lost this game would finish with the wooden spoon pretty much in 2018, and it was more of the fact that Parramatta had to win this game because their for and against was so bad. And on top of the whole thing, it was Jonathan Thurston's final ever home match in Townsville because he announced his retirement earlier that year, and it was Matt Scott's 250th. North Queensland would win the match by 40 points and condemn Parramatta the wooden spoon. In round 24 of the 22 NRL season, this match was a bit of a strange one in regards to the Spoon Bowl because it was described as a Spoon Bowl game. However, Newcastle and Gold Coast weren't second last and last on the table. West Tigers were last on the table that year, but this game was played at Seaboard Super Stadium, and there was a lot riding on it because the Gold Coast needed a win in order to avoid the wooden spoon, definitely, and Newcastle could mathematically still have got it because their for and against was really, really awful. In the end, the Gold Coast would win the match by 10 points, but with other results going in their favour, Newcastle would avoid the wooden spoon and West Tigers would finish with it. In round 21 of the 2023 NRL season, the 8th edition of the Spoon Bowl was contested between St George and West Tigers. St George were second last on the table, West Tigers were bottom. There was only 2 points separating these two sides. If West Tigers would have won the game, they would have overtaken St George. But St George would win the game 18 points to 14, which would virtually condemn West Tigers to a second consecutive wooden spoon. In the 9th edition of the Spoon Bowl, and possibly the most famous of the lot, it were Parramatta against the West Tigers. This one was being played at Campbelltown Stadium. This was the final match of the regular season. Whoever lost this game would finish with the wooden spoon. The amount of publicity and the videos online through TikTok, Instagram, all the content creators, the media, even from both clubs themselves, I haven't seen anything like it in terms of a wooden spoon game or a Spoon Bowl match. It were off the charts, and I think maybe if some of the previous games were played in today's world where we're surrounded by social media, like especially the 2011 Gold Coast and Parramatta game, if that was now when we've got TikTok and YouTube and all this other stuff where it's a lot more prominent, then maybe that game would have been promoted. But with this one in particular, everyone latched onto this Spoon Bowl match in 2024, and in the end it were a bit of a disappointing one if you're a neutral. Parramatta won this game 60 points to 26, condemning West Tigers to their third consecutive wooden spoon. And to be honest, I don't know as well if the hype around it was the fact that Parramatta were involved, or it would to do with the fact that not a lot of people, especially neutrals, wanted West Tigers to come last for a third year in a row, and there was a lot of stuff going into the game. I'm not too sure, but I certainly don't think that we'll see a Spoon Bowl match quite like it again, where the hype around it was so meteoric, so hyped up in such a way. And the 10th edition of the Spoon Bowl occurred just last week. This one were between Gold Coast and South Sydney. The match were being played at Seaboard Super Stadium on the Gold Coast. Gold Coast were bottom of the table, South Sydney was second bottom. South Sydney won the match narrowly, 20 points to 18, which in some people's minds confirmed the Gold Coast as wooden spooners for 2025. However, at the time of recording this video, the season's still going. The Gold Coast still have a chance of avoiding it, but it seems a bit unlikely. They'll have to win 3 of their 4 remaining games to pretty much avoid it. As for South Sydney, this win pretty much meant that they're going to avoid the wooden spoon in 2025. This match didn't have much hype around it compared to the Parramatta and West Tigers game I just spoke about. There were a few people that mentioned the Spoon Bowl thing, but it weren't hyped up like the Parramatta and West Tigers one. I don't know why that is. Maybe in a lot of people's minds for a long time they've already seen the Gold Coast as wooden spooners, or maybe because it weren't the final round of the year. I don't know. But at the time of recording this video, this is the latest Spoon Bowl game to occur. There might be one later in 2025, but we'll just have to wait and see. So that concludes my history of the Spoon Bowl fixture. I think that it's a welcome thing in the NRL. I like the fact that these wooden spoon games are hyped up in the media, and in some ways it kind of makes the fixtures towards the end of the year a bit more exciting. It gives teams something to sort of play for. You know, nobody wants to be wooden spooners. Nobody wants to lose the spoon ball match. So I think it's a welcome addition to the calendar, and I like the fact that people hype it up and make memes and bloody t-shirts and all kinds of stuff. So let me know in the comment section below, what's your favourite spoon ball game, or what's your memories of the spoon ball? I'm pretty sure a lot of people would just say 2024 West Tigers against Parramatta, but maybe someone out there might have a different opinion. Once again, thanks to everyone that's recently subscribed to the channel and has liked and watched the videos. It's much appreciated. This is a video that I wanted to do for a while. It's good to finally get it out there. But anyways, this has been Rugby League history, and I'll catch you all later in the next video. Alright, ta-ra for now.